ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। जानपड
भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते सम्प्राप्ते सन्निहिते काले नहि रक्षति दुष्कृन्करणे मूढजहीहि धनागमतृष्णां कुरु सद्बुद्धिं मनसि वितृष्णाम् यल्लभसे निजकर्मोपात्तं वित्तं तेन विनोदय चित्तम् नारीस्थनभरनाभिदेशं दृष्ट्वा मागामोहावेशम् ये तन्मांसवसादिविकारं मनसि विचिन्तय वारं वारम् नलिनीदलगतजलमतितरलं तत्त्वजीवितमतिशयचपलम् विद्धिव्याध्यभिमानग्रस्तं लोकं शोकहतं च समस्तम् यावद्वित्तोपार्जनसक्तः तावन्निज परिवारो रक्तः पश्चाज्जीवति जर्जरदेहे वार्तां कोऽपि न पृच्छति गेहे
We'll take up the clarification first. Hold on. Reference Bhaja Govindam, verse number 4. You said, in this limited, unstable life, human being is consumed by abhimana and vyadi. He is attached to body and mind. In relation to body, vyadi, and mind, ego. And you are bound to suffer because either you are body worshippers or ego worshippers. Okay. This is what is said in the class. The question. What's the meaning of ego worshipping and how ego worshipping causes greater trauma? Please explain. It is said, either you are body worshipper or ego worshipper. The question is, what is the meaning of ego worshipping and how ego worshipping causes greater trauma? Explain. Body worshipping is very easy to understand, straightforward. It's not that difficult to understand. Attachment to body, infatuation to body. That's very easy to understand because it's grosser by nature. Because body is being grosser by nature, anybody attached to the body, infatuated to the body, can be seen. Okay, infatuated to the body, attached to the body means attachment is the inability to accept any change. Understand it like that. What is attachment? Attachment makes you incapacitated. What is your incapacity? The incapacity to accept change. Nevertheless, life keeps changing. Life keeps changing, and because of your attachment, you lose your ability to accept the change, adapt to the change. This is called you lose your ability, adaptability, etc. All this is called attachment. So attachment to the body is what? A small change here, a small change there, a small sickness here, a small sickness there becomes so, makes it look so big. And 80% of the time the conversations is around the body. 80% of the time the conversations is around the body only. And most of the comforts is always centered around the comfort of the body. So a small change here, a small change there makes you so affected. And what is the nature of the body? Vyadhi, he says. Pratipaksha bhavana. Vyadhi. What is that? What does that Vyadhi means? Vyadhi literally means disease. Pratipaksha bhavana is understanding your body is always a combination of two. Pratipaksha bhavana is understanding your physical body is always a necessary combination of two, health and disease. You cannot be only healthy. It is impossible. At any given point of time, your body is a combination of these two, health and disease. Because some cells are dying, some change is happening, all that keeps happening in the body all the time. Therefore, body is always a combination of these two. You can get excessively obsessed with the health part of the body and get so scared of the disease aspect of the body. But nevertheless, body is a necessary combination of these two. You strive to be healthy. You make an effort to be healthy. As you are striving and making an effort to be healthy, some aspect of the body changes, diseases will keep happening. Some pain will be there, some toothache will be there, some headache will be there. If nothing is happening, you will fall and you will have a fracture. If there is no internal disease, you will fall. Something or the other will give some foreign particle will go into the eye, something or the other will. So body necessarily will be a combination of these two. You follow? Somehow it will want to keep itself alive. That's what it is, isn't it? Hunger is the way of body wanting to be alive. Because body has to be alive, and if it has to be alive, it needs an impulse to eat. And what is that impulse to eat? Hunger. So you eat now, at least you have a guarantee that you'll be alive for the next 5 hours, isn't it? That's all it is. What is the big thing, isn't it? You eat now, what is a guarantee? Till lunch you will be alive. You eat lunch, guarantee that till dinner you will be alive. You eat dinner, morning you will be alive. That's all it is, isn't it? This is called Pratipaksha Bhavana. So you understand it like this, you will not be body worshipping. You know how to make proper use of the body. Instead of being body worshippers, you will know how to make proper use of the body. This is as far as the body is concerned. Then comes the question, ego worshipping. What is this ego worshipping means? What is ego, first of all? 200 definitions of ego can be given, and still ego will be a mystery. Still it is difficult to comprehend. Or you think you got it, it will get a backdoor entry through somewhere else. You think you got it, by making you believe I'm under your control, ego has gained a backdoor it. So the entire spiritual study and entire spiritual sadhana is about this ego only. Okay. Pratipaksha Bhavana angle of looking at ego today. We look at ego from the Pratipaksha Bhavana angle. And Pratipaksha Bhavana angle is so irritating, you feel like saying, sir, move to the next verse. This Pratipaksha Bhavana is haunting us for weeks now, isn't it? Whenever you remember yourself, you feel misery and pain. Again, ego wants pleasure all the time, happiness, pleasure all the time. Start from here. It wants pleasure, happiness all the time. Whenever you remember yourself, you feel misery. Pain starts and it becomes more and more and more intense. What is the way to get out of the pain now? What is the way to get out of the pain? Get addicted to something. Get addicted to something. Because in that addiction, there is a temporary forgetfulness of the pain. Again, I repeat. Self-remembrance always brings in pain. What am I doing? Where am I? What is all this about? I don't want to be in this situation. I don't want to be in this place. I don't want to be in this situation. I want something else. Why am I? Now, any remembrance of yourself will create 4 or 5 questions cyclically. Have you ever observed it? Any remembrance, you will just 4 or 5 questions will keep cyclically. And you can never get out of that cycle. And you can never get out. What is this? I don't want to be in the situation. Why am I in the situation? When you say, why am I in the situation? You are saying, I shouldn't be here. I don't want to be here. You are only making a statement. You are not asking why as a reason, cause. You are only making a statement saying, I shouldn't be here. That's why when somebody says, why am I in the situation? I tell people, don't immediately start giving answers because they're not asking questions. They're only simply seeking some addiction to get out of the play. They're asking you to say something which will help them to forget the pain. Because any remembrance always brings about only this. Where am I? Why am I like this? Why is that person like that? Why am I? So ego, any remembrance of ego results in beginning of the pain. Because ego can never remember the blessedness. If you can remember the blessedness, there is no pain. Ego itself starts dissolving there. Are you able to understand the difference now? See, self-remembrance can be your blessedness. Self-remembrance can be the pain. What does the ego remember? The pain only it will remember. In that pain, what happens? Anxiety comes in. Thus getting anxious. Are you able to follow the analysis? Thus getting anxious, what do you want to do? You want to forget yourself. You want to forget yourself. So anything that makes you to temporarily forget yourself, you will get attached to that. You will get addicted to that. You will get addicted to that. You will get attached to that because it's temporarily helping you to forget your to pain, misery. You follow? That's why we always said, what do you call as pleasure? Anything that makes you forget yourself for a while, you will call it as pleasure. I have said this many a times in the various sessions. I have always said, what do you call as happiness? See, for a person who is grateful, there is no need for, because the gratitude itself is so pleasurable, so happy that nothing else that person will require. That ego cannot do that. The ego can never ever do that. Therefore, what the ego needs, the ego needs some person, some situation, some object, something which will make itself forget. It has to forget itself. That's all. It has to forget itself. You follow? So, what is ego now? All that you do to forget the reality is ego. From this, you come to a derivation of ego. What is ego now? Ego is that which makes you to forget which wants you to forget the reality. What is the reality? That's the verse that we studied, where this explanation came. What is the verse? Nalini dalagata jalamati taralam. Tatpad jivita matishaya chapalam. The first half of the verse, the first stanza, the mortality of individual existence is said. The second half of the verse saying the pain-ridden temporary nature of the world. Again, I repeat. What is the verse talking about? Nalini dalagata jalamati taralam tattva jivita matishaya chapalam. It spoke about the mortality of individual existence. Mortality means the mortality means completely leaving, dropping everything and moving on to it, not without even looking back. That's mortality. You are attached to everything. At some point of time, what you are attached to, you will just drop everything and not even look back. And not even look back and go. Death. Death makes you do that. You just forgetting the property, forgetting the family, forgetting the name, forgetting the friends, forgetting everything. The fellow leaves, getting into a new body as though life is starting afresh, isn't it? See the old man and look at the new child. You can never make the connection. If you can make that connection, Pratipaksha Bhavana is working. Are you able to follow? You see a old man and you see a newborn, you should be able to make the connection. You keep on going like this, Narayanji, criminalizing everything. I got so attracted to that word, he said. I got so attracted to that word, criminalizing everything. You see this, and you see that you won't be able to even make the, you won't be even able to make the connection. Nalini dalagata janamati taralam atva jivita matishaya chapalam. That is in relation to the individual life.
Can you repeat that old man and the child with combination that?
You see the old man, the person who's dying. All the entire investments of the life, the fellow is ready to, the fellow leaves and goes into something new, as though there is no background at all, as though there is nothing at all, isn't it? That's what he says. This is mortality. You invest so much in it, not realizing what? Next moment, next day, next week, next year, you are going to clean drop everything. Don't even worry, can't even remember what is happening. Are you able to follow? If you can remember that, now you become liberated. Are you able to follow? What is this old man? Who's the old man? The person who has full of attachments. What is the child?
Same attachment.
What is the child? New. It looks like fresh and new, no?
Yes.
It looks like fresh and new. Can you ever make the connection that The old man started like this, went through one full cycle, left everything, and starting all over again. Whenever you see a new child, what you should remember? You should remember you are going to do that. Going to start all over again. What are you going to start all over again? Oh, last week or 2 weeks back, no, there's a new child in our family, a newborn child, 3 months old, new child, and and we were all sitting around the child playing, and according to people, all children come to me. I'm very good with handling children, and I don't know, I really hate them so much, but people think like that. And child also think like that. So I was playing with the child and everything and all that. So 3 months now, it has to turn. So, I was making the child to turn. I was showing something, and 3 months, the child just turned to the stomach. Oh, huge celebration for that, isn't it? Clapping and laughing and giving sweets to each other. For what? For the child turned to the stomach. Nothing has happened, isn't it? In that, I was thinking, I didn't tell anybody. In that, I'm thinking, oh my God, how many times you are going to do this? Again and again and again. Are you able to follow? Huge celebration to turn and then walk. And then now, last night, the video came. What is the video now? The child is struggling to sit. And he's saying, Mama, can you come and make the child sit now? I said, I'll come. Each and everything. You don't understand that. Are you able to follow? You don't understand that you are going through this again and again and again for what? No clue to what's happening. Are you able to follow? That's the connection. If you see both, you can understand. What you can understand? When you see a funeral procession, don't sympathize with that person. We all go to the funeral and sympathize with the person there. No, don't sympathize with that person. That person is reminding something about you. This is Pratipaksha Bhavana. Are you able to follow? You go to the funeral, that person, don't sympathize with that person and say, oh, wonderful man, died. Oh, not all that. That person is making you to remember something about your own life. Are you able to follow? You see a new child struggling to turn, struggling to sit, struggling to crawl, struggling to walk, talk, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3. Oh my God. What a painful journey it is. For what? For what? Only to leave everything and start all over again. Only to leave everything and start all over again. You remember? Ego. In all this, don't forget ego worshipping. What is ego worshipping now? It will not make you to think in this direction at all. It will say, don't get into these kind of thinking and all. This is very negative thinking. This is anti-life. This is anti-life. This is negative thinking. This is how these people confuse us and make us not enjoy anything in life. Life is so beautiful. Life is so wonderful. Life is there for us to enjoy. Yeah? Life is there for us to enjoy. I said, correct. Life is there to enjoy. Everything is enjoying except a human being. Life is there to enjoy. A butterfly doesn't have ego. Therefore, it enjoys flying. A fish doesn't have an ego. It enjoys flying. A human being saying that I should enjoy, brings about tons and tons and tons of misery upon oneself. They don't understand the difference. He is the one who says, I want to enjoy. Life is there to enjoy. Life is there to enjoy. And who brings misery? The human being. himself or herself, I don't know what to say. Able to follow? What is this ego now? Makes you go extrovert. Makes you go extrovert, telling you that don't think in go out. Because if you go inside, you only see what? If you go inside, you only see misery. If you go inside, you only see misery, pain, anguish, anxiety. So all that you have, what is the way to get out of it? Extroverted nature. Are you able to follow now? Extroverted nature. Extroverted nature means seek things from outside. Seek things from outside. Seek things from outside. So ego is that which convinces you that extrovertedness is the way to. Because it is sleepy, unconscious all the time, the decisions it makes are meaningless. Well thought about decisions, sir. Yeah, I have thought, I weighed all the pros and cons, and I came to new words they keep inventing, isn't it? Due diligence. Vijayarangan, adana? Huh? Before you do anything, with all having done due diligence, I made this decision. That the decision it takes is meaningless. The vows it takes is meaningless. The resolutions it takes is meaningless. The promises it makes is also meaningless. Two human beings promise to each other, isn't it? We will not leave each other. I will be there for you and you will be there for me. And both of them are not going to be there for them. Why? Because Nalini dalagata janamati taralam tattva jeevitam atishaya chapalam. That's why when somebody is dead, the person who's alive feels cheated by that person. They say, how can you just leave me like this and go? How can you just make me an orphan and go? What about the promise you made yesterday? What is the promise they made to each other yesterday? See, before you make a promise to each other, you should have consulted Yama, isn't it? You should have consulted Yama and said, okay, what is the shelf life you have given to me? Accordingly, I can make a promise. You assume infinity about your own self and make a vow and make a promise. The decisions are meaningless. The vows are meaningless. Resolutions are meaningless. But ego makes it to believe everything is so meaningful. Ego makes you to believe all this is so meaningful. So what is absurdity of ego worshipping? That's what we said last week. What is absurdity of ego worshipping? You are making a house where it cannot be made. You are making a house where it cannot be made. You remember that? We spoke about that in detail last week. People ask, why are we unhappy? Why are we unhappy? You are unhappy because you are making your house where it cannot be made. You do not understand where it is already built. It's already built. You don't have to build anything at all. It's already built. All that you have to do is what? The only qualification to enter the house where it is already built is drop the ego. You can't enter into the house with the ego. The only condition is that house is already built. The keys will be given to you. But you have to pay a price for the key, to take the key, to become ownership. What is the key that you have? What is the price you have to pay? Drop the Drop the ego. And I tell you, ego cannot be dropped because everybody in their head thinks they know. They know what they know what they are doing, and they know exactly what they want. And when it comes back and hurts them so badly, so deeply, they are so convinced that they became a victim. Hmm? They are so convinced that they have become a victim. Now, what is this ego worshipping? A belief that you are a victim all the time. Because you are a victim, your sorrow is justified, your misery is justified, your anguish is justified, everything gets justified because you are a victim, helpless victim. This is what he said. Nalinidalagata jalamati taralam tattvajjeevitam atishaya chapalam viddho vyadhyabhimanagrastam lokam shokahatam cha amastam. This loka is full of shoka. There is a very beautiful story. One of the Upanishadic stories, that's a very beautiful Upanishadic story. In those days, they go night rounds. The villages, the country, they have people who go night rounds. So every 1 hour, they'll ring the bell and they go night rounds. So one day the father who is to go for the night rounds has to go to some other town. So he asked his son to go round. Instead of going round, instead of simply going, he was chanting something and going. He was chanting something and going. And the king heard that. The king heard that and said, "Who's this person?" He said, "This is the boy." Shankaracharya wrote a beautiful hymn on that. Tasmat Jagrata. Tasmat Jagrata. All of you are all sleeping. Wake up. He's supposed to give solace to people to sleep. He's telling all of you, you wake up. All of you, what are you all sleeping? Terrible follow. Ego is a kind of a lullaby. Ego is a kind of a lullaby. It puts you off to sleep. What does it put you off to sleep? What in you will go to sleep if you are an egoistic person? What in you will go to sleep if you are an egoistic person? Your awareness will go to sleep. Your awareness will go to sleep. Therefore, you believe that your decisions are correct. You know exactly what you are doing. You know exactly you have weighed the pros and cons. All this is done unconsciously, and ego makes you to believe it. Are you able to follow? So ego worshipping means a person who is not able to understand that all that you do is done unconsciously. Intellect means that which makes you aware, conscious. Everything is done unconsciously. The decide to get married unconsciously. Decide to divorce also unconsciously. Decide to live unconsciously. Somebody decides to commit suicide also unconsciously. But at every stage, ego makes you to believe that you are. Are you okay till now? Lastly, ego worshipping means this. It makes you to believe you are cultured, you are evolved. Ego worshippers are those who believe that it is culture, it is growth. I'll explain this now. This is something which is very, very important to understand. All your great network of activities begins with your desire to satisfy the ego. Animals, comparatively, animals live on the plane of the senses. They get satisfied so fast and then they can relax. Between two periods of hunger, once the hunger is satiated, the animal is relaxed. You know that, no? Even after eating, you are not relaxed. When you are sleeping, you are not relaxed. When you wake up also, you are not relaxed. So there is no moment of peace or relaxation at all that comes to the ego. Why? Because satisfaction of ego is what is seen as civilized culture. That's where you find more and more civilized society, the ego fight is more. Again, I repeat, as human goes on becoming more and more civilized, which is not civilization at all. That's what he says. World is full of intelligence. Are you able to follow? As human being goes on becoming more and more intelligent, more and more intelligence means they think they are very civilized. They think they are very cultured. The satisfaction of ego becomes a primary occupation in life. Are you okay till now? And this ego can never ever be satisfied. Why? At least the senses can be satisfied temporarily. See, at least if you are hungry, eat, and then you are relaxed for 6 hours, eat, you are relaxed for 6 hours, it's worth it, no? Comparatively speaking, isn't it? You are anxious, hungry, you are eating, anxious, your hunger is satiated, but anxiety is not going. Are you able to follow? As human goes on becoming more and more civilized, the ego, satisfaction of ego, instead of the satisfaction of ego becomes predominant. What is the fight in the family? What is the fight between two human beings? What is the fight? Ego. That's all it is. Ego. Ego means what? Ego means what? I am right. You are wrong. I am always right. You are always wrong. The ego. Ego is what? I am right. You are wrong. I know. Starts from the ego is that which assumes this thing. I know. Another, whenever we go on saying, don't get into this notion of I know. So ego always gets into this thing of I know. I know in comparison to you who don't know, Narayana. Correct? I know, you don't know. That's ego. I know, therefore, all that I do is right. You don't know, therefore, all that you do is wrong. I know I am right. Therefore, I am indispensable. I am very important. You don't know, you are wrong. You can be easily dispensed with. Are you able to follow? This is where ego hits a peak. I know, I am right, I am. எங்க வீட்டிலேயே முக்கியமான ஆள் யார் சார்? ராம் சுப்பிரமணியம். வீட்டிலேயே முக்கியமான ஆள் யாரு? நான் தான். Isn't it? Correct? Self-certification only, isn't it? All self-certified. Who cares? All self-certified only. So everybody has to dance. Everybody has to dance according to you. Why? Because you are more important, or you are the only important, not more, the only important. Shankar, purida? Suddenly the other person says, I make my own decisions. What happens? Huh? What happens? That's all. Kurukshetra, isn't it? Peaceful family, sir, peaceful family. Now, one man is deciding, everybody is just shutting up. Peaceful family. One person decides, and the other person says, no, I will make my own decisions from today. What happens there? What happens there? Kurukshetra will start. Why? Oh my God, that person doesn't know. Therefore, blunder after blunder only is going to make. Since I am the only person who know, I am the only one who can save the entire planet. Are you able to follow? Ego. Ego takes this. Ego takes this. Are you able to follow? This is called ego worship. That is where the hurt and harm in the civilized societies, the trauma and anguish and pain the civilized society go through. Like he says, no, developed world, 70% divorce, isn't it? Developed world. Are you able to follow? That's called civilization, no? Are you able to follow? If you see, from that, where people were running for that civilized society, wanting to get back and turn here civilization. Same thing will do. And you follow what I'm saying? As human goes on becoming more and more intelligent, civilized, the ego becomes more and more strong. How to stop worshipping the ego? Disease பத்தியே சொல்லிருக்கூடாது. Solution also has to be given. What is the way to stop worshipping? What is the way to end the disease? There's only one way. Thank you. Thank you. Now, ego will not know what to do after that. Ego will just melt. If you have to melt the ego, the way is say thank you. Thank you means the ego has to accept that it has received. No. Which ego will accept that it has received? The ego says, I have given. Where have I received, sir? Where have I received? I have only given. Are you able to follow? For the ego to melt down, there's only one method. What is that method? Simply say, thank you. Are you okay? சரியா? Verse number 5 படிங்க.
यावद्वित्तोपाचन सक्तः तावन् निज परिवारो रक्तः पश्चाज्जीवति जरदेहे वार्तां कोऽपि न पृच्छति गेहे यावद्वित्तोपाचन सक्तः तावन् निज परिवारो रक्तः पश्चाज्जीवति जरदेहे वार्तां कोऽपि न पृच्छति गेहे.
As long as there is capability to earn wealth, so long would there be a retinue. Later, when he lives with infirm body, none would heed him at home. As long as there is capability to earn wealth, so long would there be a retinue, a parivar. Later, when he lives with infirm body, none would heed him at home. Pratipaksha Bhavana, he is continuing. I am not continuing. Yeah, he is continuing. The Pratipaksha Bhavana, Shankaracharya is not stopping Pratipaksha Bhavana. He is continuing. As long as there is capability to earn wealth, there will be a following. The moment you become infirm, none would heed him at home. Because liability now. That person has become a liability. And who wants liabilities? Nobody wants liability, isn't it? Who wants liability? Nobody wants a liability. That's why in marriage also, they ask what is the wealth you are going to bring along, because we don't want a liability to walk into the house. Because nobody wants liability. Yeah, they put conditions. They ask, what is your wealth? What is my wealth? What is your wealth? Why? Because absence of wealth makes you a liability, and nobody wants a liability. Understand this when you are earning, understand this, he said. Not when you have lost everything and sitting infirm. Understand it now. Have you ever noticed when a person is live, we will not send a rose. When a person is dead, we will take garlands and bouquets and bouquet and leave it on the. Have you ever noticed that? When the person is alive, nobody will be there even to give a glass of water. The same person dead. Immediately what happens? Garlands will come, bouquets will come, everything will come. Why can't you do it when the person is alive? Why can't you do the same when the person is alive? Why do you have to do when the... That's why we are comfortable watching the photograph. We are happy garlanding the photograph and highly irritated when the person was alive. Why? Because of the very basic instinct of the human being. Because of the very basic instinct. What is a very basic instinct? A human being, take it or leave it. It's your life. A human being is essentially selfish. The human being is essentially at the core selfish. That human being will not generally give without hopes of getting. ஏதோ ஒரு hope of getting இருந்தாதான் you will give. Without the hopes of getting, you may give material, but something has to be given in return. Maybe an emotion, but something has to be. Nothing for nothing is the law that governs. Nothing for nothing. இந்த ஃப்ரீ சாப்பாடுலாம் கிடையாது சார், இல்லையா? இல்லையா, ஃப்ரீ சாப்பாடுலாம் கிடையாது. A universal law. What is a universal law? You will always see this. Always an attraction to one who is earning, and always a kind of indifference to the one who has become a liability. Always an attraction to one who has the capacity to. Earning doesn't mean going to work and bringing in monthly salary, bringing in business profits. Earning means that person can give something. Earning means that person can give you something. Liability means
Nothing to give.
Liability means you only go on giving and the other person can't give anything in return. What does the liability means? Are you able to understand the difference? Liability means other person can't give anything to you. You will be attracted to one where there is a hope of you getting something. Yavat vitto parjana saktaha tavant nija parivaraha. Your dependence also will not, as long as the ability to earn, save, so long all your dependence attached to you. Later on, when you come to live with an old, infirm body, no one at home cares even to speak a word with you, he says. No one even cares to speak a word with you. Why? Reverence, respect is given to one who gives you something in return. Are you able to follow what is selfishness? Selfishness means you respect, you adore, you revere, you will be happy associating with someone who can give you something in return. Maybe material, maybe physical, maybe emotional, but something you need in return. Are you able to follow? Here he is using wealth as an example to talk about this point, Pratipaksha Bhavan. Here is using wealth as an example to explain this concept. What is the concept? Respect and reverence and all that don't get carried away. The ego gets carried away when people show respect and reverence and affection and all that. The ego gets so carried away. Pratipaksha Bhavana is to neutralize the ego. Don't get carried away. What is that getting carried away? This is how it's going to be for forever. It is so good. It is so good. Why it is so good? Because you are getting something from them. That's why it's good. The moment you only have to give and you can't get anything from the other, what happens? Remember this. Attachment, people will be attached to you, people will be affectionate to you as long as you can give something to them. That day you lose that ability to give, you will be dropped, just as you do the same thing. Conclude it like that. Just as you do the same thing. Are you able to follow? When you ask, it is legitimate, and when the other asks, ego gets suffocated. Have you ever noticed it? When you ask, your asking looks very legitimate. When the other says, I want, you start feeling too demanding, sir, too pressurizing, sir. But you did it? No, I did it out of pure. When I asked, I have a right to ask. When the other asks, they have no. Are you able to follow? This is the way in which the ego operates. Whether you like it or not, you accept, you don't accept, you curse, you don't curse, you are happy or unhappy, the law doesn't change. What is the law? This way of living life, you will always remain empty-handed. The ego is that which always remains empty-handed. It may have everything around, but it always feel empty-handed. It always feel it's not having enough. It's not having enough. It's not having enough. You will turn back and say, what is your problem? You will turn back and say, what is your problem? You have a domestic help at home, isn't it? You have a house, you have a car, you have everything. In her eyes, you are living in abundance. Purida? Ram Subramaniam. In her eyes, you are living in abundance. And she comes and says, ஒரு 10,000 ரூபாய் வேணும், 10,000 rupees I need. நானே கஷ்டத்தில் இருக்கிறேன். How can I? Oh, I myself is in doldrums. How can I give you 10,000? She will go back thinking what? What will she go back thinking? The fact is you don't have is the fact. That's ego. You always feel empty-handed. You always feel so empty, so empty, so empty that you can never ever give. You feel so empty all the time. You feel so empty that you can never ever give. Even by mistake, if you give something also, the law. What is the law? Nothing for nothing. Even if I give, I can't say I give, forget it, and move on. Give, forget, and move on. He gave, he forgave. Remember that slogan Ram Tirtha's said. He gave, and what he gave, he forgave. Not forgiving. Don't take it as forgiving. Who's he doing? He gave, and he's forgetting what he is giving. Because his attention has moved on to the next giving. That is the blessed life. His attention has moved on to the next giving. Moved on to the next giving. Everybody will want to have the mental state of that person. Everybody will want to have the courage and freedom that person experiences. But what you need to do? He gave, he means he gives, he giving. So much ready for the next giving that he has no time to look back what he gave. But the human being doesn't live life like that. Therefore, you will be a victim of what? Yavat vittoparjana saktah tavat nija parivaro raktah paschat jivati jarjara dehe vartam kopi na prichati gehe. Please understand, he is not saying people around you are selfish and self-centered. He is not saying everybody around you is selfish, self-centered, useless, cheaters. He is not saying that. If you misunderstand it, you will think like that. That's why most of these Vedantic verses are so misunderstood, because it looks like it's saying, he's saying very clearly, no. The verse is stating this very clearly. What he's saying? Don't trust anybody around you. Is that what he's saying? Is that what he's saying in this verse? Is that what he's saying through Pratipaksha Bhavana? What is he saying as Pratipaksha Bhavana? Earn and save. Earn and save. Correct? Huh? Earn and give. Earn and save is one. Earn and give. Pratipaksha Bhavana only says, if you follow the first formula of earn and save, this will be the consequence. You can't escape. You can't escape. That's what Pratipaksha Bhavana is saying. There are two formulas. Yavat vittoparjana saktah. The general way in which the human being lives life is what? Earn and save. For rainy days. Huh? I don't know. Say for rainy days, say for winter days, I don't know. For a wise man, eternal summer settles on his head. Where is the winter? Where is the rain? Where is nothing? So, earn and save is one formula. Another formula is earn and give. Pratipaksha Bhavana is only teaching you there are these two formulas and there are the consequences of these two. When you are hoarding and saving, people are waiting for you to become infirm so that they can take it away. Because you are hoarding and saving, they are just waiting, isn't it? That's why at some point in time they say, why the fellow is not dying, isn't it? In most of the families, they say, no, give my share, I will go. Give my share. I will walk out with my share. I will do what I want to do with my share. Give my share. Even yesterday, she was asking me, one of the persons, what to do, sir. I said, yeah, tell them the door is open, go out. If anybody comes and says, this is my share, I said, if you want the real solution and if you really want to save that person, all that you have to tell is what? The door is open, get out. But you can't say that. Why? Because why you can't say that? You are so dependent. You are so attached and you are so dependent. Are you able to follow? So the entire relationships hanging on this thread of attachment, what will be the consequence of it? Everybody will want to grab their share and run. Everybody will want to do that. No fault of anybody. Everybody does it, including you. When you say everybody means it includes you also. Why? Because you ask yourself, what formula are you following in life? Earn and save, earn and give. That's why the Dharma Shastra says the dharma of the Grihastha Ashrama Dharma. What is the Grihastha Ashrama Dharma? To earn and dhanam. Earn and do dhanam. Earn and do dhanam. Give. Life is to give. Victor Hugo said that, no? Life is to give. But sir, if I go on giving like this, when I am in need, what will happen to me? First problem. Huh? First problem. Second problem, sir, you don't know me, sir. Autobiography, they will give me only. I have heard the autobiographies of everybody. Yeah? Oh my God. You know, sir, Aparna, this is the autobiography of every human being. What is autobiography? Sir, when somebody is in trouble, sir, I am the first person to rush. Wow. Ramatirtha, Shankaracharya will feel jealous about you now. Because they also don't trust them. You know, sir, when something happens to me, nobody, correct? Huh? This is autobiography of all human beings. This is one storyline in everybody's life. Yeah. Body different, mook different, kannu different, car different, language different, dress different, food different. Autobiography remains the same. What is autobiography? Ram Subramanian. இதுதான் ஆட்டோபயோகிராஃபி. இதுல என்ன பெரிய டிஃபரன்ஸே கிடையாது. யாவத் வித்தோபார்ஜன சக்தः தாவன் நிஜ பரிவாரோ. Human being doesn't understand that your faculties, your capacity will wane away. It will wane away. When it wanes away, When it wanes away, you will become, when it wanes away, you will become dependent. And when you become dependent, ego bends down and says, I am happy being dependent. Because this is also part of the life. Idam pratipaksha bhava. Are you able to follow? Ego will say, no, no, no. I without giving a trouble to others, I want to die, sir. Oh, what a sacrificial thought, huh? Highly egoistic thought. Because it doesn't want to be in a position where that it's not able to accept that I will become infirm and I will become dependent. The ego is not willing to accept the truth of life. Are you able to understand what I'm saying? This is called Pratipaksha Bhavana. The ego is unwilling to accept that I will be infirm. I will become dependent. When I am infirm and dependent, this is how it will be, and I am perfectly okay with it. Conclusion. What is the conclusion? And I am perfectly okay with it. Nah, you will never ever get to that state. You will never ever get to that state. But ego will say, no, no, no. I don't want to be a burden to others. I don't want to be a burden to others. Huh? Burden, remember that story. What is the story you should remember? Burden. Anshu. What is the story you should remember? There are so many stories you say, which one you are asking, we don't know. And your Pratipaksha Bhavana is disturbing so much. I switched off from the class long back. And suddenly you call out my name and you are asking me this. What will I do now? Ganesh. Burden, what is the story you should remember? Hmm?
Carrying their own luggage in the train.
How is he talking all by himself all of a sudden? Venkat, suddenly our butler pesa ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டாரு. How did he speak? Anyway, doesn't matter. Some people take privileges. Some people take privileges. Burden, you should remember that story. The fly spoke to the elephant. The fly spoke to the elephant in the evening. Remember that story? Beautiful story. Where to, you can't, I tell you, there are few stories like this. I just, you can develop a huge thing around that story, isn't it? The fly spoke to the elephant in the evening. The evening, the catch. In the evening. What did it say? If you are tired, tell me, I'll fly away. The elephant turned back and spoke. Now that you spoke, I knew that you were sitting on me. If you have not said anything, I won't even know that you are sitting. You are the ego of the fly makes the fly to believe that it can be a burden to elephant. What to do now? Correct? To do now. It cannot accept. It cannot accept what? It cannot accept what? I will become dependent, infirm. Dependency will happen. And if it happens, this will be the life and I am perfectly okay with it. Now, the ego has melted already. Opposite of that is what? What is the opposite of it? So much focus on earning and saving, earning and saving, earning and saving. Everybody eyes goes to where? Sunil, are you able to follow? Earning and saving, earning and saving, 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 earning, 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 saving, saving, saving. Everybody's eyes will go where now? Where everybody will look? What will they look? What will they look? Savings la தான் கண்ணு போகும். And you are not giving that also now. You are not giving that also. Not only you are not giving, you have become a, not only you are not giving, you have become a liability also. What will be the quality of life? That's what he said. Yavat vittoparjana saktah tavan nija parivaro. Paschat jivati. Paschat jivati. This is the reality of life, isn't it? This is the reality of life. It's so beautiful because it is moving on like this. It is so beautiful, isn't it? So beautiful that the world has to go. You will get old and you will also go, is what you should remember. When you say the world has to go, but all the old age people has gone, and you think you are going to live as a youth forever. Are you able to understand what is Pratipaksha Bhavana now? The old order changes, yielding place to new. Correct, sir. But that law is applicable to everybody except you. Why? Because I should always remain young and not get old and don't die also. And even if I die, I should die without becoming a burden to others. Vedanta turns back and says, when you are living, don't be a burden to others. Don't worry about not becoming a burden on death. Don't be a burden when you are alive. Don't be a burden. When you are alive, so much of a burden that anayasa maranam, or whether you die and all, doesn't make any difference. In fact, it's a big relief, isn't it? Therefore, what is this ego? It doesn't understand the truth. It doesn't understand the reality of life. Not only doesn't understand the reality of life, it makes its own rules. Ego is that which makes its own rules and expect the totality. The totality says, you follow my rule. You follow my rule. Your rule is not going to be followed. Why? Because your rule comes out of you not having any awareness at all. No knowledge of the truths of life. No knowledge of the realities of life. And you make your rules according to your own whims and fancies, according to your own attachments. And life is not obligated to follow. Life is not obligated to follow. Life is not obligated to follow. Ego pretends to be strong while it is so weak at the core. Again, ego appears to be ego-nale pretension artham. Ego itself means pretense. Ego is that which pretends, and it pretends to be very strong. And it pretends to be very strong when it is so weak at the core. How do you become strong at the core? That's what he's going to give us. A lot of practices is going to give us later. How to become strong. Sasangatve Nisangatvam is going to give one practice, and then he's going to give Antaranga Sadhana, and then he's going to give Bahiranga Sadhana, and then he's going to give a whole lot of practices he's going to give to make us strong. In order to do all these practices, that's the practices that he's recommending is the medicine. When will you take the medicine? Only when you know the disease. So the first few verses, he's explaining the first few verses explains the diseases. from verses 7, 8 and all, the cure. What is the disease? Your whole lifetime you spent on Kanchana, connected to the previous thing, Kanchana. So attracted to earn and save, save. Remember that Swamiji's thing? You go on saving. Two fellows will take away everything, he says, isn't it? One useless son-in-law will come and say, I'm doing business, and he will burn up everything, isn't it? By mistake, whatsoever the son-in-law leaves behind, by mistake, he will leave something behind. One Swamiji will come and take everything. But nevertheless, one thing is very clear. What? One thing is very clear. What? You adopted the wrong method for earning. You adopted the wrong method for earning, and also not knowing how to. Elsewhere, he says that. Elsewhere, he says that so beautiful. Elsewhere in the same Bhaja Govindam, we are going to see it later. That's why it's called Moha Mudgaraha. Moha Mudgaraha means hammering it. It's hammering it. Hammer panna, skull will break, isn't it? Hammer panna, it will pain, skull will break. Whoever has the courage to say, let my skull be broken, is the one who learns it. The courage is required. You say, let it get broken. So many lifetimes you have preserved it. What has happened? Nothing has happened. Another child, big celebration. The child turned. Oh my God. I can't still forget that, isn't it? Oh, the child turned onto the stomach and everybody started clapping and whistling. The child started crying now in fear. He didn't know what happened. 3-month-old, 90 days child. That's all. Struggling for 3 weeks to turn. It's not turning only, isn't it? It's not turning only. Now you can't turn it. No, it has to turn by itself. You can't do it. If you do it, it will break. The bones will. You can't do it. So, yeah. Ego bend வைக்கிறது தான் கஷ்டம். Body turn பண்றதெல்லாம் easy, isn't it? So I was sitting and you do this. In few minutes, it just turned. Oh my, we should have seen that scene. Everybody started clapping and whistling because said, what a foolish crowd sitting around clapping and whistling for what? Not realizing. Imagine you having to go through it again. Will you want it? No, sir, I want it, Narayana. God will save you after that, isn't it? I'm okay, sir. A, B, C, D, again I'm okay. Learning and crawling, again I'm okay. Kindergarten, I'm still okay, isn't it? Miserable and crying for one eraser and one pencil. You want that? One eraser is gone, one pencil is gone, something is gone, and you felt like committing suicide for that. Or you wanted to murder somebody for that. You felt like, do you want all that again and again and again? Pratipaksha Bhavana. Do you want all that again and again? No, sir, I don't want. What to do now? Give. What I don't want. What to do now? Give. Aduvana, sir, is there any other method? Give allam solladingo, Shankar. Any other, idalla, I want all that. I don't want all this. I want liberation. I have decided self-realization in this Janma. Even there, the ego plays a role. You decide when you should get self-realized also. See, nothing happens with your consent in life. You understand that, at least self-realization, you will stay quiet and say, whenever it happens, it happens. It's divine wish. At least that ego will not allow. Ego will say, in this Janma itself, I have decided what I will get. As though you decided to be born in this house, in this parenting, as though you decided who should be your friends, as though you can decide when you can die. यावत् वित्तोपार्जनसक्तः तावन्निज परिवारो रक्तः पश्चाज्जीवति जर्जरदेहे वार्तां कोऽपि न पृच्छति गेहे. No one will care to respond to your posting, isn't it? இன்னைக்கெல்லாம் சொல்லணும்னா அப்படிதான் சொல்லணும், isn't it? இன்னைக்கெல்லாம் சொன்னா no one will care to speak a wordலாம் சொன்னா people don't understand. You will put post after post and nobody will even acknowledge. Nobody will even acknowledge that they have seen the posting. அப்புறம் தானே reactions எல்லாம், isn't it? And 2 reactions is enough. Oh, what a, that is it. Partham kopina pritchati gehe. With this, we conclude for today. We'll continue next week.